1. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. That is that time of the week. It is Wellness Wednesday with me, Michael Oden, founder of Final Step. Notice the background. Who's that guy in the corner over there? Watch out. Okay. And I hope you had a great week. I hope you learned some of the things that I'm, sharing with you. Some of the techniques, some of the ideas that we talked about. We talked about a lot of things in the last. This is our third week, by the way. We talked about. We talked about the road rage. That was one of the questions, and why do some families raise their children different than others? And we got some pretty good questions this week, so they'll be interesting. Looking forward to sharing with you. So again, my name is Michael Oden, founder of Final Step, and what we do is we make sense of your life or your situation to empower you to move forward without hesitation. Okay, and that's what we're all about. Also, we're gonna have some commercial breaks. So when you see a flyer in front of my face, that's a commercial break. All right. So just know that. I want to have a little fun. Because some of the subject matters are that's what I'm looking for. Serious, heavy, and So that being said, we got to lighten up a little bit because there's a lot of we see a lot of things that are soul sucking out there on the TV. The news. Politics, who knows, family situations, etc. Okay, so that being said, let's do our first. Someone's got to pay for this, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the needs-based method. Okay, basically, or what we do is we find the truth behind a specific behavior, and that's what we do. Yourself. Oh yeah, I did this myself. What do you think? Okay, you're not supposed to see my face. Okay, so we make sense of the need behind the specific behavior. Okay, that's the needs-based method. Okay, take a look at that. All right, and we're back. Okay, there goes our sponsor. All right, so we're going to show some of those a couple of times, and we will, share the other things. We're going to share some of the questions and comments that are going to be coming our way. So I want to thank you guys. Oh, by the way, I did a radio interview this afternoon, and I appreciate those who showed. It was really great. It was a pretty good interview. I really liked the questions. Right up my alley. The lady was really good. It's up there in the San Luis Obispo. Up there, is it San Luis Obispo? Up there, somewhere up there. Somewhere north, 3 hours north. Okay?
Wine country.
In wine country. So, again, I hope you had a great week. So let's start our first question, okay? Remember, we have a half hour. I know y'all got hair appointments and things of that nature. Mine's tomorrow at 7, okay? So, here's a question that came up today. Do you really heal from childhood abuse? Okay, do you really heal from it? That's a hell of a question. Since I deal with childhood wounds all the time with my clientele, some of my friends call me up and talk about theirs. And if 96% of the families in America have a childhood wound, what does that tell you about the people you encounter every day? Right? And one of the questions the lady asked me on the radio station was something had to do with something about, are people awake enough to change behavior that's life diminishing? Are they awake to do something different than the bad behavior they're continuing? And I said 90% of the people have no idea why they do what they do, but they go through life. They punch the time card of life, and they just kind of bulldoze through and just do the best they can. Now, it's not right or wrong. It's just that's what they do. In order for you to find out what troubles you or ails you or get you to understand what makes you make the decisions you make, is to take a step back and go, make a conscious effort and say, why am I doing this? Okay? And if for instance, like picking the same guy or creating a situation that's detrimental to you, anything that doesn't enhance your life, why do I keep doing that? Okay? So the question is, do you really heal from childhood wounds? Here's my question. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay? And I've done it. I've had thousands of hours of experience doing it, and here's how that can happen. You remember we talked about ego strength, right? Everything starts in childhood. As you know, this whole thing is childhood. So ego strength, we talked about before, is the ability to not allow a situation to dictate how you're going to respond or control how you handle it later on in life. Okay? It doesn't control you. All right. That being said, then we talk about nature nurture, our personality. You know, why do you look at the same situation differently than the other person? It's the same thing. You're seeing the same colors, the same responses, the same verbiage, the same trauma. You see the same thing, but again, you respond differently. Why is that? And remember we talked about the blue and the green, the opposites of the brain. Remember that? Right? The logical guys say, you know something, making sense. I don't get this. I need to do something about it. I need to leave. Where the red goes like this, I'm very emotional. I'm sensitive. I need to hear you validate my existence so I can move. But until you do, I'm going to stay here and act accordingly. Okay, that's how that works. So what happens is we got to go behind the scenes and we got to go find out where it all starts. Until you do that, nothing will change. So once you understand where you got stuck, who said what, how they said it, how it impacted you, and why, and what drives your current life-diminishing behavior, can we change? Once you uncover that moment, and you have a good cry, you have a good scream, and you start cussing me out, because that's happened before, because nobody wants to admit that certain people in their lives weren't available to them, and the people who they look up to the most. I've had that. Once you get through that, we can breathe, and we can go, you know something? There needs to be some acceptance around that. So we need to have understanding, awareness, and then acceptance, okay? If you can do the first three on healing your past, you're on the road to being the person who you always wanted to be but couldn't, because you're either hiding, right? Lying to yourself, not allowing yourself to go out to the real world. You allow yourself to go into the real world in pieces, all right? Because you're hiding pieces of yourself, and you're not being whole. And that's the whole idea, is to be whole. When you're whole, you can tell that a person is whole because how they interact with themselves, how they don't allow other people to dictate who they are, how they can say, here's a big one, how they can say the word no. When you can say the word no to a person, that's empowering. Because you're taking it upon yourself to do what you choose to do that benefits your life. It's when you continue to keep saying yes, 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 because you're a people pleaser. Guess what? We got to look at that. Why do you do that? What need is being met by you pleasing other or constantly saying yes? All right, now I digress. Let's go back. So can we heal? Healing is about accepting what has happened to you. Healing is about having empathy for the people who did certain things to you, with you, about you, and understanding their journey. And then we talked about it in our previous video show. And to not personalize it. That's the key. They did what they did because that's all they knew how to do. You got to remember that. It's not about you. It never is. 95% of behavior that comes in your direction is about the person projecting how they see themselves. And here's a line. I remember I created this line about, 5 years ago. Your behavior is an indication of how you see yourself. Okay? Try that again. Your behavior is an indication of how you see yourself. So how I respond to you is how I see myself. I'm projecting my, shall we say, negative attributes onto you. Now, let's use myself as an example. Because how I see myself as a healer, guess what I do constantly? I'm a healing. I'm trying to make people's lives better. I'm trying to get people to see the potential that they never saw so they can do the things they always wanted to do. That's how I see myself. And I'm a lot like my mother. Very stubborn, very caring. Oh boy, dig my heels in. I'm just like her. And that we call it genetics. But then we also have socialization, okay? So, back to that question. Do you really heal from childhood wounds? Depending how deep the wound is too. That's another one. Now I'm going to go dark for a second. You can be robbed, maybe we'll say it. This is Sexual Assault Month, just to let you know. You can be sexually assaulted as a minor, you can be molested as a kid, right? Those are dark moments, okay? You can have a gun pointed to your head. And you go to the other end of the spectrum where you lost. No, you can't say that. I can, but to a less severe trauma, such as maybe losing a pet. Maybe a relative died they weren't really close to. So you get so depending on the severity, and depending on the ego strength of you, depending on what's just the social support you get because of the trauma, that people are there for you as you go through it, is a huge indicator of how you're going to handle it. And that's key. If you never had family support, if you never had your needs met by the caretakers, the trauma is going to be more painful and it's going to be more lingering. Okay? Because you never had the support. But if you have the support, it's going to help. It's going to help you, empower yourself. It's going to help you realize the truth. It's going to help you move forward. And when you can move forward, guess what? Your life would be much improved. But here's the thing. The thing about wounds of childhood is this. You'll always have a scar. I always tell people, the wound will heal, but because every time you look at the scar, you know that was the moment in your life that event happened. But it's healed. It's when the wound is still open and it's still affecting you and you're still driven by the old memories of what happened. That's when we have the problem. So just know this. If it was a 10 when it started, we're going to try to make it a 5. We're trying to make it a 7, down to a 5, down to a 3. But here's the thing, because you are wired to survive back in your day. You were wired for the traumatic event. You were waiting for that to happen. And what happens is, when that event ends and you hold on to the memory, your body does, and your brain holds on to the memory, and the synapses and the wiring in your brain is ready for that to happen again. And what happens is, you grow, the years pass, and guess what? You don't need it anymore. But guess what? You're still waiting for it. Okay? That's the key. You're still waiting. And I teach people, I get them to understand that how do we live life without needing that anymore? And an example are combat soldiers. The stuff they saw, the stuff they'll never forget, the stuff they can't unsee, they bring that home, and now they are in a world for a year or two, however they last. If they get to come back home, they're on high alert for hours. Their smell, their taste, their touch, their sight, their hearing, everything is exaggerated to survive. And they need that to survive to get home. And if they make it, guess what? They don't, when they come back home, guess what? They don't need that anymore. But it's hard to stop doing that because you're wired to survive. And that's where the problem comes in. Okay? So, yes, you can heal if your ego strength and the support of your family is strong enough. You will have scars because it did happen, because we can't undo it. But then you can make the decision not to let that behavior dictate your future behavior and who you associate with and how you live your life. Okay? So, that's that question. Hopefully that answers it. If you have any questions around that and I missed something, let me know. Okay? Now, next question. Is it good to meet your bio parent or continue to create the parent fantasy? That parent fantasy. Oh, I've had many of these on my clients. Of course I wrote the book When Nobody's Home, right? And what happened, right? Then we got subconscious, right? So, remember, my guys were abandoned by the father. 95% of my clients at that time, no father, so when nobody's home. So, that's half of you is missing. That's a part of the male energy, the male perspective is gone. And also what is gone, so what we create is, why wasn't I good enough for him to stay? Why was I not around? Why was he not available for me? And this can work for the women too who aren't available, but I'll use the men. So why did he stay? What's wrong with me? What did I do? What could I have done better? Why did he leave? Why does he have another family and doesn't allow me in? That's a huge one right there. I'll write a story on that one. And those are my biggest drug dealers, by the way. Whew. So that's the thought process. That's the meaning-making machine we make up. What is up with me? And what do we say? It's not you, it's them. You're just paying the price for the inability to show up. So here's what we do, and I've seen this before. And I've asked my clients, Would you rather have a father in and out once in a while that he shows up? Or if you never met the guy who took off, do you create in your mind what it would have looked like if he was in there? And you would have created this fantasy father. You know, he would have taken me to the ball game. He would have shown me this. He would have done that with me. He would have, we created this whole thing. And I've asked some guys, and here's some of the responses. I'll never forget them. They go like this. Sometimes I wish I never met my father because he's such a big disappointment. Or do we call them, sperm donors? Because fathering is taking care of your child. Donating a specimen is a whole nother, okay, I'm done, have a nice day. So because they were unable to meet their needs right in front of them, that's where the huge disappointment comes in. Okay? If you never met him, you get to create the fantasy. It's wonderful. My dad's, I know he was a good guy. I know he loved me. I know he cared about me. I mean, he didn't show up, but I know he did. So we can create that. And that gives us shall we say, some emotional cushion. And it's almost, we're telling us a little lie too. We're like, I know he loved me. I know it. I just know it. And here's another thing. A lot of clients ask me, I know where my father is. He never showed up. I want to meet him. What do you think? And I go like this. It could work one or two ways. He can either greet you with open arms and create the fantasy that I love to see you, son. I missed you so much that you're back in my life and we'll be father and son forever. That's one way it can go. Here's the other one. Who do you think you are by looking me up? Do you want money? Here's one response a guy gave my client. You look like your mother. And he waited all these years up to that. I remember that. He waited all these years to see his father who left him, who dropped him off in a bar. Okay? And years passed. He goes, I want to meet my dad. I want to meet my dad. Everybody wants to meet their dad. And he finally had a chance. And I warned him. I said, one or two ways. One of the greatest experiences you're ever going to have is going to be a freaking emotional nightmare. And when he found him, all his dad says is, you look like your mother. Poof. He gets back to me, and we talk about it. He's crying. He's this or that. I had another guy go up to his father in San Francisco who left him at 13. You sure you want to do this? Remember, he left. If he really wanted to contact you, what would he do? He'd talk to me. Exactly. So guess what? So again, this is your fantasy. This is your journey. And you got to come to terms with it. So what are you going to do? And he decided, no. And he actually, I talked to him today, and he said, for the first time in my life, I'm content with the fact that my father does not want to be in my life, and I'm okay with that now. But I've been wishing that on myself for years. Hence the methamphetamine use. Hence the 9 kids he had to make up. Because guess what? He wanted somebody to love him, and his kids would. Okay? So it can go one or two ways. If you're willing to accept the rejection and not personalize it, which is not easy to do, if you're willing to do that, you may want to take a chance. However, if rejection is going to be really an important, if you're not willing to accept the rejection and your instincts say don't do it, something, hang around the people, acknowledge the people, respect the people who accepted you as you and who cared for you and who were there for you over the years. Okay? So, one or two ways. So back to the question, is it good to go meet the parent who didn't show up? I just explained that to you. One or two ways. Dark or light. If you're going to do it, be strong. Accept that there could be rejection. If you're not going to do it, then be at peace with the fact that you'll never get what you ever wanted from your father, and you need to be okay with that. Okay? So, that being said, so those are some of the questions. Hopefully that answered certain things.
Any feedback?
I know.
Any feedback?
Oh, any feedback? Anybody have any question, comments? Any feedback? Feedback? Oh.
They could type it in.
Oh, yeah, type it in. Okay, and, wow, we have another commercial. Hey, welcome to the final step, everybody, where we make sense of your...
Push it back.
We make sense of your...
No, I like what you said today. No.
life
Final step.
to empower you to
No.
move forward without
Final
hesitation.
step.
Yes. And subconscious,
No.
and
The
away.
old you is going to.
Oh.
Final step to the rebirth of the new you.
Oh, so we have another tagline. We got so many taglines. So, final step. The old you is going to die while the
I
new...
didn't like that one. That was too.
And the new you is for rebirth.
No. Final step to the rebirth of the new you.
Oh, that's one line. Oh, final step to the rebirth of the new you. There we go. I like that. It's not too bad, okay? So, there it is. You don't see my face. All right, get it out of there. And phase out. Phew. That's a camera technique. That's a camera technique. Okay? So, what else? Oh, so as we wind, we got 7 more minutes. Relationships have come up again and again, this relationship thing. So, I decided I'm going to give you an introduction about what we're going to talk about, and maybe we can squeeze that in at the end, okay? Relationships is everybody wants, well, not everybody, but people want to be in a relationship. They want to know that they're cared for, loved. They want somebody to love back or care for. You know, they want that, and it's natural. It's you know, it's part of who we are as human beings. So I'm reading all my books over again, and I want to give you guys a nice path that we're going to follow down the line about, you know, relationships, what they really mean, how we get into them, why we stay in them, right? And what it means to, you know, care for another person and accepting their way of seeing the world as them seeing, accepting how they see your way as way of the world. So that's what I'm going to do. So think about everything I've taught you, or everything I've shared with you is about how you became the person you are. And how you became the person you are is what you saw as a child. Whoa, who's that guy in the corner there? Okay? And all that is imperative about how you are in a relationship. Who you pick, why you pick them, right? What you show to them emotionally, okay? And how we can, you know, have a healthy and what?
Meaning.
And meaning. There we go. Healthy and meaningful relationship. We want meaning. Yes. So so as we wind out, here it is. Remember, I was telling you I was working with a couple right now. All right, we talked about that. So I'm gonna kind of talk about them a little bit too, because they are a perfect example of trying to be in a relationship and not really understanding who they are and where they came from and how that impacts the relationship they're trying to have. Okay? And what I discovered, and what they discovered is, one is very blue, the other one's really red. And the blue person, which is not as popular, is a female. And the red is the male, who's very emotional. Okay? So this is where the clash comes in. And she didn't realize that. So we took a journey back. We took a journey back to her childhood, and I got her to see where this wall was up about why she doesn't open up and become vulnerable. And that's what we're working on. Our mission with her is being vulnerable. And it has to do with no dad. It has to do with mom not able to connect on an emotional level to when she would need something, mom would always reject her. So she stopped asking. So she learned to be, you know something, I need to take care of myself because every time I ask, I get rejected. So guess what? Right? So she used that to create a career in the medical field. So she's very financially off. Well, she's well off financially. She's a professional, and she does really well. Where the rub comes in is the fact that she works a lot. Why? Because her childhood was unstable. Mom moved around constantly. Light bulbs not what do they call it? The light bill not being paid, the rent not being paid. So they're always up. And she and her subconscious and her little girl inside her says this: I will never allow that to happen again. I will be in control of my own destiny. No one will have that power over me. And that's how she's subconsciously running her life. Okay, that's where we are now. The guy is very emotional, and he picks someone who he has to validate his existence by. But if I can please her, she tells me how wonderful I am. I'm a good boy. I'm a good guy. I really am. And I got to get him to say, you know something? We're not going to do that. We're going to stand on our own 2 feet and be authentic and be strong and stand in our power by not allowing the other person to dictate how we're going to react to them. They're going to accept you for who you are, not what you do. Okay, that's where we are with him. All right, so that's where we are in that relationship. I'm curious as to see if they're going to be able to shift, and one's going to open up more, and the other one's not going to personalize everything so much. Okay, and if I can pull this one off, and we're going to see them as that couple, and if they can respect their communication styles, and they can respect their differences, it's going to be a, hey, we may be going to a wedding. Okay, we'll keep you posted. So, but we've got a long way to go. Okay, and they're willing to try, and I'm willing to give it my best. So I'm going to give you this whole psychosocial build-up over the next this year about who we are, why we are, where we're going, and how we become the people we are, and how we pick the people we pick, and what that has to do with relationships. Because you just don't sit there and say, he is so fine, I want him. You don't do that. Well, you do, that's the problem. Oh, he's fine, I love him. He's, then after a while, you're like, wow, this is it? Yep, this is it. No, because guess what? You got 23 or more hours in the day. You got to talk about stuff. And then when it gets really serious, guess what? You got to pay bills. And you got to, take care of the kids. There's just more to it than that, okay? But anyway, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to get that ready for next week, okay? You guys have inspired me to do homework. You've inspired me to read more. You've inspired me to, share. And I really appreciate that, Ask questions. Keep those questions in, please. Don't let me find you. You don't want that. So get those questions in. They're really excellent questions. So I want to give a nice list of questions so we can knock them out. Because remember, this is about you. This. I guess we're going to call ourselves a community. There we go. We're calling ourselves a community. Okay. So this community that's evolving here. These questions are directed at you, so you can help each other out, yourself, and the people around you. Okay. This is not about self-serving. It's about serving you guys and serving the community. So let's get that straight, okay? So please send them in. Don't be shy. All right, I got over my shyness. You get over yours, okay? So please have a wonderful week. Please be good to yourself. Learn to say no if you don't want to. If you don't like what's happening, learn to say yes if it enhances your life. And hey, take a little chance. Say hi to a stranger this week and say hi. Just say hi. Watch them talk your head off. No, nobody on the bus though. Just in a store or someplace. Okay? Do something that you wouldn't normally do and see what happens. Just a little bit. Nothing crazy. Okay? All right. Have a great week.
Be good to yourself.
Be good to yourself. I'll try to be good to myself. That means cut down eating. God, that eating thing is killing me. That six-pack's gone. Better find it. Okay? All right. Ciao. I'm out. See you later. Bye.